Don't know what happened there. So, this one's not going to be very long. That's what she said. Well, that's what I said. Um, but I did want to do something real quick. This is probably going to take longer than I think. So, I guess we could start with. So, we'll start with the. Start with this. Okay. So, flip it over. Smack it up, flip it, rub it down, Semitism, definition. The definition of Semitism. Okay.
Semitism.
No funny business going on. Semitism.
Semitism.
Number 1A, Semitic character or qualities. Number 1B, a characteristic feature of a Semitic language occurring in another language. Number 2, policy or predisposition favorable to Jays. Policy or predisposition. That's the laws, and that's the predisposition is how you go into something, how you feel about it before you know anything about any of it. All you have to hear is this one thing, and you've been predisposed, you've been pre-programmed to lean one way or another. And so when it's policy, which is the rules, the laws, and all that, or the predisposition favorable to J's, that is just a nice way of saying supremacy, right? Nobody else gets policy. Nobody else gets rules and regulations and predisposition favorable to them. And why should they? That's kind of weird, actually, right? So, what I thought would be an interesting read here is something called, I put in W, and what is anti-Semitism is the first thing that popped up. Let's see. Anti-Semitism is prejudice or hatred towards J people. It can be expressed through words or actions and can target J people, their property, or J institutions. Examples of it: violent attacks, physical attacks on J people or J institutions, which happens never happens. Stereotypes, blaming J people for things like capitalism or Bolshevism or portraying them as greedy or foreign. So it's funny that it says that, Bolshevism, right? That is referring to how everybody talks about Hitler being the worst ever, supposedly killed the 6 million, blah, blah. Well, you should. And whenever people talk about somebody as the worst person in the history of, they're the next Hitler, they're the next Hitler. Well, the crazy part is how nobody talks about how Stalin, there were multiple guys around the same time that their numbers put Hitler to shame. Stalin and the Bolshevik Jays, Lenin and Marx, like they're specifically pointing it out here because you're not supposed to know these things. They're not saying it's not true. They're just saying, well, if you blame the Jays for this, you know how the Germans to this day keep getting blamed for the supposed Holocaust, and they keep having to pay out and blah blah blah. And how it's constantly used. Oh, this. Well, you're not supposed to say, hey, you guys know that you did this, right? Like, it's funny how all the laws and regulations really insulate and protect them. And, when I was growing up, the only people I knew that spoke bad about the Jays were like old black men but we're the only ones portrayed to us were skinheads and then like Farrakhan people every once in a while. I really thought skinheads would be a bigger problem. As a kid, I thought as an adult, skinheads would be a bigger problem. But it's interesting how the only people that ever spoke out against the true problem were painted as being these wacko skinhead losers or these crazy Farrakhan people. It's never just normal people who know things. And that's what I'm trying to show you, that as normal as I can be, reading the normal narrative that they give us, and breaking it down, you see what the ruse is, what the conspiracy is. You can't blame them for Bolshevism, where Stalin and the Bolshevik Jays killed 25 to 30 million Christians. They killed. That's where all those pictures come from. Those are Gulag pictures. They're not Holocaust pictures. But isn't that interesting that they specifically point us out first and foremost? It's not even something you ever hear people even say. Like most people don't ever even bring up Stalin, just like they don't bring up Mao, who killed 100 million people, or Leopold out of Belgium, Leopold or something, Leonard or one of those, something like that. The Belgian king, I think it's Leopold, who killed 50 million Africans. We don't talk about that shit, right? And when it comes to the Holocaust, we're told some astronomical numbers that aren't backed up by truth. And lots of people were. Whoopi Goldberg almost lost her job on The View because she had the audacity to say that the Holocaust wasn't only about J people, that other people were killed. And because of that, Jay Joy got really mad at her, and she got suspended for a bunch of days, and then
Isn't that
she had
crazy?
to.
Because your grandfather was not Jewish. My grandparents were not Jewish. And they were both supposedly in a concentration camp. So, wow, she's a liar.
Right. But that's what TV showed you, is that Whoopi got in trouble for stating a fact. Whoopi's a famous star, and she almost lost her gig and would have been blacklisted. Uh, and she's like old school famous, and all because she stated a fact on TV. What does that subliminally tell you guys? What does that tell you, dumb goyim out there? That if somebody like Whoopi can get in trouble, what's that say about you? Isn't it funny how people do bring it up a lot, but to blame? I've never heard anyone ever bring up Bolshevism or Stalin or anything when talking about the Jays. Never, ever. I'm the only person I've ever heard talk about that. Bill Burr does a little bit of a skit on it. He has a pretty good thing on it, but he doesn't mention very much. He just asks, why is Hitler the big bad? His numbers are weak. Anyway, hate speech. I just love that phrase, hate speech. I'm not allowed to. I'm allowed free speech as long as it's not hating one particular group of people. It's like you're allowed to feel the way you feel, but you're just not allowed to say it. You know how stupid that is? I would much rather people say what they feel, and we all know, and I don't have to bother pretending or being nice to you. Another using language to express hatred towards J people. That's considered hate speech. Using language to express hatred towards J people. That's not even saying like hatred of the beliefs, that's just saying if you show any sort of hatred towards any sort of J person, that's not allowed. You can't use language to show hatred towards any J people. In the letter of the law, the wording is very important. The wording is everything important.
Something that attorneys get hung up on.
Right. That's why certain people get away with certain shit and all that, because certain things are worded a certain way and something wasn't followed to the letter, blah, blah, blah. So when you look at how they choose to word this shit, I don't know specifics of media anymore. I stopped watching, but that's what you're supposed to do. And now, because you don't watch, you're uninformed. Whether it's 100% true or not doesn't matter. You don't know what they want you to know, meaning you don't know what your fellow goyim know. And you're out of the loop. That's why I started reading Israeli news to begin with. Because the news, I was watching the news every day. And then excuse me, brother, again. When COVID came, that was all they were talking about. And it just wasn't informative anymore. It was just all just COVID fucking craziness. And so I had to figure out, like, how do I stay informed, but not, what's going to be my source? So I did notice that every time I would read Israeli news, it was almost like predicting the future. You'd read about something crazy with Israel, and then weeks, months later, it would happen here. Like how, the whole Netanyahu presidency or dictatorship, basically, because Netanyahu can't be removed now. And how no, and how he eliminated the ability to charge people with what he was under indictment for. He eliminated the ability to charge people in his position with that crime. Therefore, his charges never existed according to the letter of the law. No. And that's literally what Trump's doing now.
No. Yeah. No.
But that's how they do this. That's how the system works.
Yeah, baby.
No.
To look up some. No. I'm sorry.
Not right now. What do you need to look up, turd?
How to play two-player in a game.
Which one?
How fuck the fractured butthole.
You need a second switch.
No, you don't. It's two-player.
You need a second switch.
Oh, Dad, it's not. That's not how it works. It is two-player.
All right, well, you need mom to be cool. She's not cool.
I'm sorry. I'm in the middle of
In a minute, dude.
doing something.
Okay, I'll see you there. Hope you're there too. You don't even know what my favorite tree is, dude. And I have one. Dumb. Okay, so any language used to express hatred towards the J people is anti-Semitism. Funny. Anti-Israel sentiment, expressing hatred towards Israel or J people because of their connection to Israel. That is anti-Semitism. But see, the thing is, again, the trick isn't in the meaning of the words, right? As much as I push that, that's actually not like completely it. The whole thing is like the idea that anti-Semitism is the bad thing. Like I say, you should be proud of it. And what you'll see is people saying things like, just because it's anti-Semitism and blah blah, you shouldn't be discriminated against or. But the reality is, being opposed to a vicious, violent fucking cult Like that, we should hate that thing. And anti-Semitism is simply not showing the supremacy that they demand, not agreeing with policy or predisposition that's favorable to them. So they make it sound like anti-Semitism is this bad thing, and people then retract from it instead of embracing it. Like, no, yeah, you're right, that is anti-Semitism. Because it is. They're telling the truth. They're not lying when they say these things. When they say that expressing hatred towards Israel or J people because of their connection to Israel, expressing hatred towards Jays, blaming the J people or Bolshevism, and telling all these things, that is anti-Semitism, right? Because Semitism demands that you don't say those things. Semitism demands that you don't express hatred towards them, that you don't tell the truth about their history and all that shit. So you should, yeah, like these examples aren't like, this isn't a negative. That's the thing is this is portrayed like it's a negative, but it's not. If we look at it in any other way, it's okay. You know, we're supposed to look at what the United States did to Waco. Like that was okay because that was the United States did it, blah, blah, blah. It's horrible. The Bible is an old book that has their book in the front. The Old Testament's first. And it's the Bible says that they're the bad guys in the Bible. It's not Satan, it's the Jays. History of anti-Semitism. Anti-Semitism has existed for a very long time and can be traced back to antiquity. That's what we've been asking for 5,000 years. The Holocaust, when the Nazis and their collaborators murdered millions of Jays, is the worst example of anti-Semitism in history. Funny how they don't say 6 million anymore, see? Anti-Semitism can be fueled by far-right or far-left ideologies. How to address anti-Semitism. Stand up to anti-Semitism in all its forms. By all means, stand up to me. Call on governments to act. Organize coalitions and other groups to fight hate. It's fucking insane. It's like we're children. Satan isn't real. Absolutely not. That's fucking stupid. Anti-Semitism means prejudice against or hatred of Jays. And in the United States, anti-Semitic incidents continue to rise yearly. Hatred of Jays can take many forms, including violent acts. Yeah. Hatred of anything can take many forms, including violent acts. Put your glasses on, Myrtle. What is the root cause of anti-Semitism? This literally says this. What is the root cause of anti-Semitism? You remember? You ready? Anti-Semitism finds most sustained roots in Christianity. Oh, that's the cause. It's not their behavior. It's not how they treat people. It's not their history or their actions or anything like that. It's Christianity fuels my shit.
Mm-hmm.
The claim that Jays will forever be held responsible for the death of JC is a charge known as deicide. Comes from a verse in the New Testament, Matthew 27:25. His blood be on us and on our children, known as the blood curse. Oh my God. So stupid. It's so stupid. So, I'm going to do something fun though. Okay. Working definition of anti-Semitism. All right, so there is no free will. Real people wrote it. The Bible. Well, did they? I mean, we don't know. We don't know what's going on with that. I like to think it's more Chat GPT than anything else, which makes a lot more sense. I mean, it's a terrible book. It really is terrible. It's so dumb. And it's written to be confusing so that the average person can't understand it and needs it to be explained to them. But anyway, let's go further into this. So there's something called the working definition of anti-Semitism because, like, isn't it interesting how what they mean is anti-J, but they always refer to it as anti-Semitism? Don't you ever wonder why that is?
Yes.
Well, it's all in the word. And first of all, understand that the word is spelled. It's currently, since 2021, has been spelled ANTISEMITISM. Prior to 2021, it was spelled ANTI hyphen capital SEMITISM. Now, what happened in 2021, you say? In 2021, they decided they had hearings where they decided that they were gonna create a bunch of work, basically that people were going to have to go back through all of the historical stuff, all of the literature, all the fucking documentation, everything, and go back through and change the spelling from ANTI hyphen capital SEMITISM to ANTISEMITISM, all one word, all lowercase. And so there would have to be a reason for it, right? Well, I've been telling people since maybe 2013, maybe earlier, maybe less, I don't know, to look up the definition of Semitism because one day it just sort of dawned on me. This is a word, this is two words. I know what anti means. I know when there's a hyphen there, that means it's, you know, anti cholesterol, anti cat. And whenever you're anti something, that opposes the thing that anti is attached to. So I thought, what is Semitism? And I looked it up, Semitism definition. Now back then, especially the first time, it I had to go through like 5 or 6 Google pages before it finally let me see the definition of Semitism. Because it was 5 or 6 Google pages of anti-Semitism, definition of anti-Semitism, example of anti-Semitism, anti-Semitism in the workplace, anti-Semitism this, and I just thought, man, that's really a strange thing. I hadn't gotten where I am yet, right? He said, if I can see how history is rewritten, and the Bible is just stupid. It's just stupid. 1611, Francis Bacon, Shakespeare, fucking Bible bullshit. Anyway, it's all just stupid. But um, so I look it up, and I finally figure out what I find that definition: policy or predisposition favorable to Jays. Now, it could have been anything else, and I would have been kind of like, okay, whatever. But that was pretty smacky in the face, right? And so for years, I would tell people this, and years, and I never heard anybody else say it before. You know, I wrote songs about it. I would say it on podcasts and things like that, but I never heard anybody else say it. Well, in 2021, they decided that they were gonna, do some. They were gonna have to do a lot more work, and they were gonna change the spelling. And their narrative for why they were gonna create all this new work and change the spelling of all these old documents and everything like that was because they didn't want us thinking Semitism was something that anti-Semitism opposed. Literally, the truth. They didn't want us knowing the truth. Whatever you're doing, stop. They didn't want us knowing the truth, so they changed the spelling of a word so that people wouldn't be able to look it up as easily. Understand that's why they did that. And then for quite some time now, there's been something, and now think about that. Is there something like that for Christianity? And back to, why don't they just say anti-J? Because they don't care if you oppose, believe, accept their crazy beliefs. It's not about that. You need, what they want you to be as a Christian. They don't, it's like how Christians want you to be Christians and Muslims want you to be Muslims. Jays don't want you to be a Jay. They want you to be a Christian. And even if you do convert, you're not a real Jay. Your mother wasn't Jay, so you're not a Jay. And they're real strict about that. And they're real shitty about that. They're not welcoming like that. And that's, at least with the Christians and the Muslims, that's how it is. But that's how it's designed to be. That's the bullshit for us. That's the stupid shit for the, yep, as long as you do what you're supposed to do down here while you're alive and you live your shitty life and you're the cog in the wheel and you accept that they are so much better than us, when you die, then everything really, oh, then the party starts. Then you get to go to heaven. You won't get to go to heaven, but then you get to go to heaven. But there is no, and so they don't say anti-J because they don't care if you're J, if you down with the J stuff. They say anti-Semitism because what they care about is whether or not you agree with policy or predisposition favorable to them. Do you get it? They everything that they say is anti-Semitism. It's because it's not the way they want it to be. You're not being what you're supposed to be. You're supposed to give us policy and predisposition favorable to us. And that's how that works. That's why it has its own unique term that literally means that. There's no way around it. That's what it was originally coined as. The term anti-Semitism was originally coined by I can't remember who he was in the 1880s in Germany to combat the fact that the Jays had taken over. And they were just awful. They were horrible people and they did horrible things. And the whole baby penis cutting and sucking has always been a big problem for people. I just watched a video of a submarine driving. Yeah, a submarine was driving what? The submarine had little arms and feet for the pedals. What was it driving?
You're such a jerk.
So not only do they have their own special words for every special little occasion that it doesn't exist, and there's no anti-Muslim word like that. There's no anti-Christian word like that. But they also have something called the working definition of anti-Semitism. That's what its name is. Working definition of anti-Semitism. Makes you sound like they're working on it, but that's no. It's the definition of anti-Semitism that's working for them right now is basically what it is. So the working definition of anti-Semitism, also called the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance definition of anti-Semitism, or IHRA definition, is a non-legally binding statement on what anti-Semitism is. It reads, anti-Semitism is a certain perception of Jays. Now it's a perception, which may be expressed as hatred towards Jays. Rhetorical and physical manifestations of anti-Semitism are directed towards Jay or non-Jay individuals and or their property, towards Jay community institutions and religious facilities. It was first published by European Monitoring Center on Racism and Xenophobia, EUMC, in 2005, and then by the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance, IHRA, in 2016. Accompanying the working definition, but disputed status, are 11 illustrative examples whose purpose is described as guiding the IHRA in its work, 7 of which are related to criticism of Israel. 7 of the 11 of this thing that is used to demonize you, to make you, it's like if they say that you are violating this, then that, that can affect your credit, that can affect how treat you, all these things. And 7 out of the 11 are about Americans' free speech to criticize another country. The definition was developed during 2003, 2004, and first published on January 28, 2005 on the website of the European Union Agency, the European Monitoring Center on Racism and Xenophobia, EUM. The publication was made without formal review. Isn't that strange that a publication would get to such an influential publication would go to press without any formal review? That's amazing. And remained a working draft until November 2013 when EUMC's successor agency, the Fundamental Rights Agency, think about this. Like, think about all of these agencies and corporations and all of these different businesses that are all designed to keep us promoting this cult, accommodating this cult. It is a cult. It is just like, seriously, it is a disgusting cult that bases everything on, well, 2,000 years ago. It really is awful shit, man. Semitism is a characteristic of specific Semitic languages and peoples. No, it's not. I just literally showed you what the definition is. Number 1A, Semitic character or qualities. Number 1B, a Semitic feature occurring in another language or something along those. A Semitic character or feature occurring in another language. Number 2 is poly or predisposition favorable to Jays. It's what's always been. Modern definitions are the most important. No, they're not. No, the origin of these words.
That's what the modern definition is.
Well, but mine is also the old definition too. That one hasn't changed. This new definition is new, but the winners write the history. The winners rewrite the history. You tell me another word that you can remember that was spelled a certain way for 140 years almost, maybe more. That legislation was then passed, hearing was held to change the spelling of it. You tell me another word. Why would that one word be so important, especially 2021, leading up to what's happening right now? It's also around when Trump signed the legislation that's, when Kobe dies, bullshit. I don't want to go into that one, but that's bullshit. He dies on Sunday and Monday and Tuesday. The only things that people are talking about in the news is Kobe, because on Wednesday, the Trump impeachment is said to come to an end. Well, on Tuesday, good old boy Netanyahu, while under indictment, flew into the United States to hang out with Trump while he signed the legislation that said all colleges and universities have to have a pro-Israel curriculum and actively remove all anti-Israel and BDS groups. Actively remove, under threat of losing federal funding, which no major college and university can survive without federal funding. Think about that. Have you ever seen, like, we black people make up 13% of the population here. Jays only make up 2% of the population here. Can you tell me about any legislation that says all college campuses have to be pro-black and risk losing federal funding if they allow for any sort of racist stuff? I mean, think about how long it took to get so many of those universities to change their school flag that used to have Confederate flags on them and shit. Some still do, like Mississippi or whatever. And how much resistance there is, and still how much resistance there is to the idea that the Washington Commanders aren't the Redskins anymore. We like the Redskins. Meh. Imagine if they were like I created a team like the Detroit Shylocks, or not Shylock, the Detroit can't think of a tough J word. You know,
There's a reason for that.
right? But just something along those lines, the Shysters or something like that. That wouldn't be a lot. And the guy on there was like, and got a claw and shit. Again, why do you think they let Borat exist? What do you think that was about? They let this J, because it's a J, Borat's a J, Sacha Baron Cohen is a J. I remember finding that out and being so like disappointed. But it made sense. Because how could anybody say these? They have the claws and the. But if you go back and you think about it, what are they doing with that character? Just like they're saying it's skinheads or it's Farrakhan's or it's these goofy ass Borat stupid asses. Those are the people that talk bad about the Jays. He's creating a stereotype.
Yeah.
He's saying if you say bad things about the Jays, you're probably stupid like this Borat guy. That's why it was allowed. Plus, he was a J, Baron Cohen. Probably high ranking. Anyway, without formal review and remain a working draft, removal from its website in a clear out and non-official document, the working definition was adopted by the IHRA plenary, consisting of representatives from 31 countries. 31 countries are having meetings about the definition of a word. About the working definition of anti-Semitism, about this policy, this non-legally binding policy, or policy, but like predisposition. That's what this is. It's the predisposition. They're programming with the predisposition that's favorable to them. Consisting of 30 in Bucharest, Romania on the 26th, 2016. It was subsequently accepted by the European Parliament and other national and international bodies and employed for internal use by a number of governmental and political institutions, although not all have explicitly included the illustrative examples. Pro-Israeli organizations have been advocates for the worldwide legal adoption of the IHRA definition. I mean, just think about how difficult it is for black people to be heard about anything. And they make up 13% of the population.
I mean, he has a point.
Jays make up 2% of the population, and we're talking about 2% of the U.S. population, 0.183% of the world's population. And yet all of these government hearings and meetings, and just so we can make sure that they're okay. This is just fascinating to me. The definition has been heavily criticized by academics, including legal scholars, who say that it is often used to weaponize anti-Semitism in order to stifle free speech relating to criticism of Israel or Israeli actions and policies. But see, this is again where the ruse comes in. Because you're supposed to be like, no, I'm just criticizing Israel, not the Jays. You're not supposed to criticize the Jays. And as long as they keep that line drawn, that's what matters to them.
Right.
But the truth is, this is a cult. We are criticizing a horrible cult that literally does nothing, that brings no benefit to anyone. Them believing their crazy bullshit does nothing good for the world. How is our world better because 0.183% believes themselves to be superior? and are committing genocide right now. Like this is where this is really important that we understand that there's a reason why this whole page and all that exists. It's because it's supposed to do these subliminal things where it again it makes you separate. Oh no, it's Zionism. This guy, you always see people on here speaking for me. This guy's confusing Zionism and Jayism. No, I'm not. Zionism is just as a distraction. Biden said it. You don't have to be Jay to be a Zionist. I'm a Zionist. Like it's fucking stupid. It's just stupid. It's like deep state. What's a deep state? Who's a deep state?
The deep ones.
The deep
They're
ones.
deep.
Yeah.
They're deep, really deep.
High profile controversies took place in the United Kingdom in 2011 with the University and College Union and within the Labour Party in 2018. The definition has been contested for weaknesses that critics say lend themselves to abuse, for obstructing campaigning for the rights of Palestinians, and for being too vague. Exactly. Kenneth S. Stern, who contributed to the original draft, has opposed the weaponization of the definition on college campuses in ways that might suppress and limit free speech. Where all the richest, most powerful people send their kids, and their kids are protesting against Israel and getting arrested, and nobody's saying anything about it? What the fuck is that? The controversy, but see, again, they're still talking about the weaponization and while allowing this idea that these people all call us goyim. Like, this is the thing that you don't understand. It's not about Israel. It's not about the weaponization of it. It's about addressing the truth. You guys look at us like we're shit. So we don't need to give you anymore. You just go ahead and go to Israel and just prove how superior you are. If all of you live in Israel, Israel should be like the greatest place in the world.
Yeah, but Hamas.
Well, I guess you got to deal with that. Got to deal with that. The controversy over the definition led to the creation of the J Declaration of Anti-Semitism and the Nexus document, both of which expressly draw distinctions between anti-Semitism and criticism of Israel. Jeez, sure is a lot of stuff. Sure is a lot. The Commission on Racism and Xenophobia, CRX, also known as Con Commission, was established in 1994. The CRX was transformed into the European Monitoring Center on Racism and Xenophobia, EUMC. But again, that's not really what it is, though, right? Because it's really only about the Jays. It's not like this European Monitoring Center on Racism and Xenophobia is out there campaigning for black people and shit, right? By council regulation, who gives a fuck? Its mandate was to monitor different forms of racism and xenophobia. No shit. I thought they were a fucking laundry place or something. In 2002, it published a large-scale monitoring report on Islamophobia since 9/11, including a total of 75 reports, 15 from each member state with the synthesis report. This was to be followed by a comparable report on anti-Semitism. A report entitled Manifestations of Anti-Semitism in the EU 2002-2003 was published in May 2004, along with a second report on perceptions of anti-Semitism based on interviews with European Jays. The anti-Semitism report was based on data collected by the 15 contact points of the EUMC's monitoring network, RAXEN, RAXEN. Then, the robustness of the data evaluated by an independent researcher, Alexander Pollock. Gee, I wonder how independent he really was. The report included a section on definitions, which concluded by proposing this definition. Let's just see Alexander Pollock. Alexander Pollock. I can't find I look him up and it says he's an Austrian historian, author, and human rights campaigner. And then history, myth of the clean Wehrmacht, and then references. There's no early life, no he was born this way, he's a this, he's a that. Weird. Whenever they hide stuff, I always wonder what that's about. So, uh, the report included a section on definitions, which concluded by proposing this definition: any acts or attitudes that are based on the perception of a social subject, individual, group, institution, or state as, quote, the deceitful, corrupt, conspiratorial, etc. J. So basically they're trying to
Talk
criminalize.
about us.
Right. They're trying to criminalize your thought process. You're not even supposed to be thinking of these things. Any acts or attitudes. If you have an attitude about it, you're not supposed to say, hey, this kind of looks like this. Can you explain to me how it's not this?
That's it. Just shh.
Right? That's it. You're just supposed to shut the fuck up. You're not supposed to ask the question that might alleviate your concerns. The report also explored the question of when anti Zionist or anti Israel expression might be anti Semitic, and highlighted the need to develop a common EU definition in order to collect and compare incidents across countries. Again, think about this. So basically, it's like anytime their feelings get hurt by what you're saying, it's an international incident.
I knew you were gonna say that.
I mean, that's what it is. And if you knew I was going to say that, it's because you saw the same thing I see. That's what they're saying. Anytime anything doesn't go their way,
Talk about me.
don't talk. Right? Don't talk. Don't do this. Don't do that.
Shush.
Which is strange too. Again, because I had. Why am I not being targeted? You know, they should be coming to educate me. They should be coming on here to educate me. They should.
You don't matter.
I guess not. Yeah, must be it.
But
that shouldn't matter.
But just because you're just not them.
Right,
So
but the law says I do.
Whose
Mm-hmm.
law? Not theirs.
Their law. That's what I'm saying. All of this shit is expressly saying that someone like me is a problem, and that I am violating all these ideas and beliefs that they have. In December 2003, the Center for Research on Anti-Semitism, it's capital Z, lowercase f, capital A. The Z for, okay, analyzed a pre-release version of the EUMC report. The ZFA report was leaked to the press and poorly received. It was leaked. I wonder how it was accidentally leaked to the press. Who is the press?
You know, the press.
But it was poorly received, so they were like, okay, we got to do something about it. According to civil rights lawyer Kenneth L. Marcus, in the report, the primary cause of rising anti-Semitism in Europe was assigned to young Muslim males. While in a press release for the subsequent final publication, the EUMC assigned the rise in anti-Semitism to young, disaffected white Europeans. It's just amazing how it's always an insult. An insult. It's due to some sort of problem with us. It's not due to any behaviors, actions, anything like that they're doing or covering for or, anything like that. It's because there's something wrong with us. Ugh. Fuck baby in the corner. That's gross. I know. And that whole movie, the idea that a 25-year-old man has a love affair with a 17-year-old girl is fucking gross.
I always thought that too.
Marcus writes, the larger issue was missed that the definition of anti-Semitism that the EUMC was used was based on 7 stereotypical traits: deceptiveness, strangeness, hostility, greed, corruption, conspiratorial power, and diocidal murderousness. But that's exactly what it is. But see,
Murderousness.
everybody should be against anybody that's like that. And that's the thing. They're making themselves to be like this like, of course, yeah, they're like that, but you're not allowed to be like pointing it out. You're not supposed to say that shit. The EU and murderousness. The EUMC report concluded that anti-Israeli and anti-Zionism expression could only be considered anti-Semitic if it was based on the stereotype of Israel as a collective J. But what do they always refer to themselves as? The J, the J state, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The state of.
The state of the J state, you know. They say it all the time, but we can't say it.
Nope.
Following the EUMC report, the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe, another one, OSCE's Berlin Declaration recognized that post-World War II anti-Semitism had changed and was now at times directed against Jays as a collective and Israel as the embodiment of the J. Isn't that amazing? Again, that there's all these issues going on with people needing to eat and all these other things, but what the governments, the parliaments, all that shit are focused on is defining how these Jays feel. The Berlin Declaration also tasked the OSCE's Office for Democratic Institutions and Human Rights, the ODIHR. Think about that again. They create all of these organizations where they are then the president, vice president, secretary, blah, 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 and they all get a piece, they all get government funding.
Yep.
They're all these $100,000 a year jobs. They're all prestigious, you know, and they don't work. What do you think they do all day at the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe or the Office for Democratic Institutions and Human Rights? What do you fucking think they do all day?
Oh, they help human rights.
They're sitting in their office all day with, oh, we got some new reports. I'm not, you know.
Yes.
No, they are not doing that shit. These are just like fronts, you know, like shell corporations, but they're just mini little positions that allow these Jays to have prestigious, well-paying jobs where they're stupid, so they don't have to work very hard anyway. Like, you show me the video of some random person walking up to a politician and asking them a tough question. And the politician's like, oh, well, you know what? Blah, 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 blah. Right? Show me that. They fumble and falter and they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. There's a great.
Where's my aide? I'd have to.
Right, where's the aide? My aide will know. Aide will know. What's the steroid movie? Is it Juiced Up? Yeah.
I don't remember.
Yeah, that's it. Juiced Up meeting in Washington. I want to see if it'll be on here, if they'll show when he talked to. Nope. Damn. Movie. Juiced Up movie, Congress. Let's try Congress. Wow, it's really weird how hard this is to find. And then remember that, like the baseball players using steroids were congressional hearings. What are we talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Why is Congress wasting congressional? Like, seriously, do you understand how they're just like making fun of us at that point?
Yeah, it had nothing to do with anything.
That's nothing that we should have anything to do with. That Congress should have anything to do with.
No. But yes, I remember that.
All right, let's see.
I remember agreeing that was total stupid bullshit. Who gives a fuck?
I'm gonna have to watch that movie again just so I can.
Stupid shit like that.
I wish I could see it. God damn it! Why is this so hard? That's what she said. Wish she did a while ago. It's not like it used to be. It's like, 46, man. What can I say? Anyway, I'm gonna go because I'm done. It's a holiday today, so. Besides, they're shutting my shit down really crazy today. So, everybody, have yourself a wonderful day. Go get distracted for a little bit. Go get your free download www.bilderberg.group.com and go watch Hollywoodism. I'm putting the links for everything in the description. See ya.